as follows. The Honorable Members of the Delta County Board of Commissioners. Dear Commissioners, a statutory meeting of the Delta County Board of Commissioners is scheduled for Tuesday, April 11th, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. in the boardroom of the Delta County Service Center and via YouTube. Sincerely yours, Nancy Presrocki, Delta County Clerk. Please rise for a word of prayer. Lord, as we begin this meeting, we thank you for our many blessings. We ask for your guidance to help our commissioners make decisions in the best interests of the citizens they serve. And Lord, we pray for the safety of our military men and women. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. Commissioner Melner.
Here.
Commissioner View.
Here.
Commissioner Barron.
Here.
Commissioner Moyle.
Here.
And Commissioner Peterson.
Here.
Special orders of, first of all, welcome everyone. Thank you for coming tonight. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting of the County Board of 4/4/23.
So moved. Support.
Moved by Commissioner Barron, supported by Commissioner Melner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed. Those would pass. Approval of tonight's agenda.
I move approval of tonight's agenda.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron.
I'll support.
Support by Commissioner Peterson. Is there any additional comment, discussion? All those signify by saying aye if you approve.
Aye.
Opposed? The agenda is approved. All right, presentation of written communications, communications received, communications forwarded, anything?
There are none.
There are none, nothing then is needed to be done with that. Reports of standing statutory special committees and others?
No.
Nothing. We have nobody signed up for public comment on agenda item. That doesn't mean you can't address the board if you would like to speak on agenda items. Going once, please. Twice. Thank you very much. All right, there being no public comment on agenda items, we looked at committee reports. Anything from personnel or finance?
No.
Nothing there. Very good. Administrators report.
Great news, Delta County Parks is now online for reservations as of 9 this morning. I had talked to Mr. Madsen and we had already 600 plus reservations. Also, this week is been set aside to recognize and celebrate the work of 911 dispatchers helping to save millions of lives every day. Throughout this week, we honor and thank those invisible dispatchers who have continued to serve Delta County in this demanding profession. Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion to put that on file.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Melner, supported by Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That would pass. All right. Department head updates. Everything from the airport to building and maintenance. Any department heads wish to address the commission, please. One more time, department head updates on addressing the commission. All right. None seen. General orders of business, unfinished business, we don't have any. New business, we have the payment of our bills.
I move that we pay our bills.
We need to
Wait,
find
excuse
out
me.
what we're paying.
I'm too quick.
It's all right.
Sorry.
I have examined all claims presented and recommended payment of the following, and that the county clerk be directed to issue orders on the treasurer to the claimant for the amounts allowed. $2,975, $681 and 61 cents. Or I'm sorry, $295,681.61. $1,256.52 with the commissioner expenses.
We have a motion. To be in
Support.
order.
So moved.
Commissioner View moves, Commissioner Barron seconds. All those additional discussion? Those in favor of paying our bills, please signify by, no, we need a roll
Roll
call.
call.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Yes.
View.
Yes.
Barron.
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And Moyle.
Yes, we'll be paying our bills. Thank you. Okay, the purchase of MERS service credit, please.
We just have a current employee that would like to purchase years of service for their defined benefit. Cost to us.
I'll move to pay that.
Moved by Commissioner Peterson,
I'll support.
supported by Commissioner Barron. Gentlemen, additional discussion.
Can you just explain real briefly what that means?
He just wants to purchase years of service, so usually like defined.
Is that veteran service or just,
Defined benefit service, so years of service to us.
D-
So defined benefit is our, retirement, and you have to be so many years before you are vested, and he's just purchasing.
He's buying yours so he can retire.
He can retire.
Oh,
at
is-
earlier time.
is he retiring now or in the
No.
future?
No word of any retirement soon to come.
Okay.
But he's just purchasing.
it up.
Any additional discussion, Commissioners? We have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That would pass unanimously. The appoint to the jury commission, there's one opening.
Yes, attached on your next cloud, you should see a letter from the judge recommending Sandy Dashnoff.
I would make that motion that we accept it.
Moved by Commissioner Melner,
I'll support.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. All those signify by,
Well,
oh, I'm sorry, please.
How long is that term? I mean, is there a?
3 years.
Okay, Thank you.
Anybody else? Discussion? All right, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? That would pass. The annual financial year 22 Conservation District Report, Mr. Mattson?
Now, the one for the Conservation District and the one for the parks. Heated a little bit, I think I picked a good meeting.
Thank you.
I won't be all night, so I won't be here long.
I did. I wasn't thinking of you, I just said that.
Okay, this started by Commissioner Rivard many years ago, especially when we took over the parks on this part, to just give, and you see that front page gives an overview. The county commissioners way back then, all the way through, I'm guessing now, have just requested a quick overview, and that's what it is. The only difference I did this year is I attached, which I believe I gave you last week, I could be wrong, but I gave you the entire financials for fiscal year, basically 22. So that's attached in the back. But if you just want to see quickly, what it brought in, and I'll go over it because it's very fast. County appropriation was $50,000. Carryover from 21 was $40,304.92. Camping brought in from Fuller Park was $127, $198.40. This doesn't show any refunds, but if you go to the one in the back, you can find refunds if you want to follow it that deep. Pioneer Trail Park, $191,568.80. The cabins brought in $6,661.60. We're expecting that to go way up because only one cabin was finished last year until we got into the end of August. So there was just basically a few of them done in the fall, and then they were all finished up after the park closed. So they're totally open and they're online. And speaking of the online, I did call Ashley today to kind of tell her I was surprised that 600 and some people could just boom since 9 o'clock. But I guess there were a lot of cancellations. You would think if you called in on the first day, you wouldn't be canceling. But the way it rounded out, so everybody knows, there was over 450 positive reservations that people got, nobody canceled, so that's a good thing. Pavilion rentals, the new pavilion, the money that came in for that was $10,775. Old pavilion, $3,175. Winter storage was $2,850. Wood sales was $7,795. Had good wood sales last year. Total income was $486,445.88. You see the little small writing. I put that down because if you just look at that and say that's what the parks make, you have to realize that $40,000, right, $40,304 was a carryover. $50,000 came from the county, and $25,000 came from Bessie on a grant that we wrote with Bessie. You see the little CC, that stands for credit cards. We've always had a credit card charge that is just a hair over what the credit card company costs. So it shows an income of $9,498.56, which would be nice if there wasn't, we'll get to the expenditure. And then ICE, $2,916.50. I updated this commission, but maybe not Commissioner View, and well, Commissioner Peterson knew because he was on our board. But we received a letter from, I don't even know what they're called anymore. It used to be the local ice company, Superior. They were bought out by a company in Ohio. We received a letter, I believe it was in July, that said, we are picking up your machine, you don't sell enough ice, you can't have it anymore. So I called, and luckily, I got the local guys who live here to leave the machines there, and they actually did deliver through the month of September. But those machines are gone now, so I guess we just won't be able to provide ice. That's a kind of a shame, but they wanted us to buy it by the thousands, so we had to buy 1,000 bags or more in one shot, and we only had a machine at Pioneer and one at Fuller, and the bigger machine was at Pioneer, and it only held 350 bags. So there was no way to get a delivery of 1,000 bags. So I just want you to know that going forward. So actual income, you subtract the carryover, the county money in Bessie, $371,140.96. Utilities are up a hair this year compared to the others. Everything goes up, $55,269.34. But I'm guessing anybody on UPCO received the same thing the parks did and my camp did, and things that starting, I believe it's July, there's going to be a 10% increase. So you can look right there and say it's $5,500. Infrastructure, maintenance and repair, $2,000. Now, normally, that would have been $60,000 to $80,000, working on the buildings and things, but we weren't really sure what was going to happen. So we just carried it over, as you can see on the bottom. So money's still there, but we didn't actually implement much on infrastructure maintenance. Equipment maintenance was right about what it always is, $3,141.12. New equipment, $10,594.40. I made a presentation to the board. We had 2 Gravely lawnmowers that were purchased in 2010. Basically, I wrote a grant to Hannahville and got 2 Gravely lawnmowers from them. Well, they're old and they get pounded. I mean, they're running 5 days a week. So one had a little problem with the motor, and it's still there. And basically, we'll work with Ashley or you guys this year, $4,500 to replace that motor. This is a brand new one. So we bought a brand new one to upgrade it. So we have a brand new one that sits there. And then we have another older one that wasn't run as hard. And then, of course, we have the one, but $4,500 may be worth fixing it versus trying, because the body's good, the mower part's good, and again, a new one, as you can see, equivalent is, about $10,000. Cabins, we spent $19,341.55. That was just finishing them up. New park improvements was $1,147.55. Wood, even though it made $7,000 up here, we had to buy wood. So that was $2,241.98. Fuel was right about where it always is, up a little bit because fuel costs were up. $7,987.43. Janitorial is pretty much sitting there. So we spend somewhere between $5,000 and $6,000 on janitorial. It's been up a little bit since the COVID. The loan payment, the last one got paid in September. So that's done. And I just put that little CC back here of the $9,000 for, if you go up here and you see that for income, you never want to count the credit card income because as you can see, we actually lost, $230. So, I mean, that's not bad. We did work it into the new reservation system, but they can't charge a credit card fee. So we had to work it into the actual reservation itself. So it should take care of the 4% that Camp Spot is working with. Remember the name of the credit card company?
Clover.
There you go, thank you. Clover Connect. So that they work together good and everything's going good. So expenses were $374,773.63, and so we carried over $111,672.25. And then, like I said, the rest of it is the report. If you want to get right down to what every category was, whatever penny was spent, but that's a very, very quick overview. I don't know if there's any question on the park. Yeah. Commissioner.
What's a cabin rental monthly?
Uh,
Daily, how do you rent them?
Yeah, we don't rent them by the month, we rent them by the day. You have to do 3 days, or you can do 7 days. If you do 7 days, you're actually only gonna pay for 6. It's kind of a, incentive. But the reason is, you have to clean the cabins where you don't have to clean their trailers when they come in. So if we would've had to do it nightly, we gotta have somebody to clean them cabins in the morning. It would've been a lot of extra work, or hired somebody.
How much is it?
Oh, I'm sorry, $50 a night. Unless you do 7, then it's 600. Yeah.
600 for the week, $50 a night.
Yes.
Thank you.
And this report is based on, because the county allocated right to the district, 25,000. I know there's been a lot of different discussion on it, what it was for, what it isn't. This is what it's for.
Thank you, sir.
It never was about the forest, it never was about the park. It was basically bringing economic income into this county and doing all your natural resource, environmental services. And that's the only thing the Conservation District has ever got, received, or even asked for, is that 25,000. So that first page shows forestry and wildlife environmental. It shows landowners assisted by the district last year in this county were 240 for 27,149 acres. These are all the different things that we worked with landowners here. And environmental projects, that's what we worked on with them, trying to help landowners. And the total economic impact to Delta County. And, when we figure things out, I know a lot of times groups or other government agencies will figure this 4-to-1 or 7-to-1. These are actually dollars. So these dollars were brought in to Delta County, and they went directly to landowners, or they went to consultants, or they went to contractors. So these were dollars brought right into Delta County last year, and that's where we usually are. We're usually between 3 million and 5 million, who's ever listened to us give this. Our MEEP program, that's run by Holly Moss. It gives a definition of MEEP there. I put that in for the new commissioners of what it is. But basically, I don't know how many of you, I know farmers understand right to farm. If you own forest land, you also have a right to timber, basically to forestry. So basically, by getting in this Michigan Agricultural Environmental Assurance Program called MEEP, your land gets certified by the state. And once you're certified, that means you're managing your property, whether it's ag, whether it's forestry or what, not exactly how things are supposed to be environmentally. So you're also protected from frivolous lawsuits, a landowner themselves, if they're following the GAMPs and things that they do through that program. So it's a good program. So last year, Holly assisted 60. MEEP verifications take a long time. The agriculture ones take a lot longer. And they have 4 different types on those, from farmstead all the way to, simple ones, cropping, livestock. But to get 48 out of the 60, the percentage is high. Because these are usually a year to 2 years it takes you to get verified, because it's a rigorous thing. The verifiers come up from MDA, they go through the whole blooming thing. They're looking for any environmental violation, anything that's not there, and if it isn't, then you get verified. If the county can remember, all your lands, even your parks, are verified. We got those done, and you guys were the first park system and county system in the entire state that had MEEP verifications done. Acres that she did was 6,699. And then qualified forest tax program, I think a lot of people are familiar with CFA, where you have to allow people on your property to hunt, to fish if there's water, or to trap. The qualified forest program, you do not. I know most people who own property are familiar with homestead. You get an 18 mil deduction off your taxes. And then, of course, if you got agriculture, you can get the same. And then there's some other different numbers like PA, Public Act. I don't deal with those, though. But the qualified forest, you get an 18 mil tax deduction, but then it's turned around and you have to pay 2 back, and that's what runs the program at the state. So this year, 22, we did 29 landowners for 3,069 acres. Right now in Delta County to date, we have one of the highest. We come pretty close to 60,000 acres under QF. Now, a lot of people see that as losing the operating tax at the top, which goes to the schools. When the qualified forestry program was put in by Representative Casperson, then Senator Casperson, when he redid it, the schools don't lose a dime. They don't lose a penny. The state, and everybody who gets in this, the state just kicks it back like they do for homestead and things like that. So basically, there's no loss there. A lot of times I wait till March when these maps come out. Anybody who's been a commissioner before has seen these maps. It sort of shows us in Delta County how we stack up with the rest of the state of Michigan. Every county's there. These are federal dollars, so that's just a part of the 3 million. But you can see in Delta County, we had 77 contracts, by far the most in the state. Then if you flip to the next one, these are the dollars that were obligated with that 77 contracts, $829,014. Now you do see Traverse City, and you do see the Thumb. They have special programs that we can't have. And it's because of the environmental impacts in the Thumb area with the bay there and things like that. And Traverse City, too, has Grand Traverse Bay, so they have things that they can put in for that we just can't. I wish we could, because Little Bay de Noc to me is just as important as Grand Traverse Bay. But that's why they're in red. We also do Schoolcraft County, so you can see there's another 107,000. So, and Chippewa had a special one, too, so that kind of pumped them out there. But you can see total obligated farm bill money coming out of the feds is pretty high for Delta County and always has been. And then I broke them down for you into two programs that we can actually apply for, or landowners can. So CSP program, Conservation Stewardship Program, you see there too. We had 39. Marquette did real well too with 26. You can see what the rest of the state does. That's a kind of a forestry one, so you can understand it, how it'd be better in the UP. And you can see there, Delta County had 619, and we fared real well with Lower Michigan. And then, of course, EQIP contracts, that's tree planting, plans, all kinds of things like that. You can see how we fared there in the state, too, just in contracts. And then the same thing with the number. And again, down in Saginaw Bay, below that line down there, down here, there's a lot of programs because they have a lot of environmental problems down there. Well, more people and things like that. The other thing I wanted to update you on, I've been updating everybody else. It has now moved on to our legislative people. We met with Representative Hill from Marquette last Thursday, myself, Hannahville, and Bob from the township. And basically, now Representative Hill, Representative Preston, and Senator McBroom are now have this little bit, but they have a huge document I prepared for them. So they were going to be introducing it in the state to see if we can get this. But this shows the city of Escanaba gave a presentation too, but they're actually going to be the one, who oversees it. But you can see the sewer line there that's running through wells. So it will attach right there. It'll be bored under the river, and then it'll go through the little bit. If you've been down P Road to where the old bridge was, there's a little subdivision there. Everybody's on septics, everybody's on wells, and it's not the best environmental condition. And then you come up and you'll pass the old tank farm, as they called it, that used to take the aviation fuel. There's some contamination there. There's some PFAS there because that aviation fuel went underground all the way to KI Sawyer up by Gwinn. But the Air Force is responsible for the cleanup, and they've been doing a good job there, and they almost have that cleanup. Then you come up this way, and you'll get up to where the old road commission garage was, the old tannery. All them buildings have been taken down. It's pretty much ready to go. So there's been about $2 million spent up here already, just making it aesthetics. But phase 3 was always, it's nice to make something look nice, but if it's still contaminated, or you still have septics, you still have all these problems, then it's not good. So it'll run up here past the terrace. I know Jared's very interested in hooking this up. He's got to upgrade his system. I think everybody, if you've been down there, he's building an addition to the motel going up four stories. And then, of course, if you're up here by Jeff's Glass, it's a bad, bad situation with contamination from septics. So what's kind of been going on there is if the sewers can get there, then that little part will be developed along the highway. I mean, it's ideal for economics, but it can't. So that's the sewer. The water one's right behind it, so you know exactly where it goes. So it'll jump on here in Wells, it'll go across, bore under, come here. The blue line is a return line. We're not positive, we need that, but that's where all the municipalities are going, that they have some kind of return line or secondary line. If something happens to this and only buddy's on water, then they can kick it this way. So that's kind of what that is.
Is that a water line?
Yes, yeah, both of them are.
How come they don't put it next to each other?
Well, they gotta follow something, but if it's right next to each other, I guess in the same hole, and something happens bad, I'm not a,
Well, not the same hole, but two different holes.
well, basically, you gotta run down those right-of-ways, and there's a distance they wanna be apart, and those right-of-ways are too short, or too thin. So that's that, and then, to give you guys an idea how big this project on, I know I've been working on it for about 3 years. A year and a half ago, or 2 years ago, before COVID, it was pegged at 18.1 million. Right now, if you take the loop in, it's at 33,800,000, put my glasses on, 33, well, I'll just say 34 million, it's just under that. So, not only what this will do is clean up the environment, a housing project will pretty much commence immediately. So I know Commissioner Peterson has brought some contractors together and talking about these different things, but Billerud, through their expansion, yeah, they're gonna need more housing, but it's not gonna come that quick. So they can do man camps, they can do other things, or all the motels will book up, or parks. But after that, who they're literally gonna try to attract for the upper echelon of people who use computers, engineers, these condo-type approaches are what they really look for. And I know we have an older community too that owns homes. And I've talked to a lot of them, they would sell their home, you know, with 2 or 3 bedrooms, and they would move into these one where they don't have to do anything, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom condos. And so that would open it up. So I know Hannahville has a big interest in a housing project there. The only other housing project I see going on is what they call the North Shore and Gladstone, if anybody's been following that. So those are 2 projects that could happen very quickly depending on what goes through. So this thing is a huge plus. We're just hoping that through all the infrastructure money, which was what, 13.7 billion dollars, that we can luck out and get another 34. Because remember, the state gave Billerud through all their kind of stuff, 200 million, so kind of competing with that a little bit, but we're in hopes that this thing will happen. So it's down there, got a couple weeks to get it introduced, but Preston and Hill will introduce it in the House, and McBroom will introduce it in the Senate. And once it gets introduced, then we have a little time to take a Lansing trip and try to talk the appropriation chairs into how important it is to fund it. So I don't know if you have any questions on that, but it's done now. So I wanted to make sure that you guys had it all. Because county's not necessarily involved in it, but the county, I think, will benefit heavily from it. So I wanted to make sure you guys are up to date.
What kind of timeframe are we looking at for being okayed, and then how much time after that? for
Well,
completion?
it'll be the budget, so depending how quickly, they do the budget. I know they always like to do it in June, but, I've been around for a long time, and I've seen it on September 30th at 11:59 too, so they didn't have to shut down. I remember one year they shut down. So it'll go through that budget process. It is possible for a supplemental. I think that's like a Hail Mary, but people win football games with Hail Marys, so you never know. But that's why we're gonna go down there, but for sure for the budget. And if it doesn't go, it's probably gonna be pretty scary. I don't know if it would ever come, because money's going out fast. There's been a lot of federal money that needs to be spent. But I think if you've been around for a while and you watch the state, you watch the feds, and I'm guessing you guys, Ashley being the controller for sure, will probably be advising you in 2 years. There might be some economic hard times coming. So, But thank you for letting us present this. This is always nice for us to say what we're giving back to the county, and
Thank you for your service to the county.
no problem.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Do we need to put that on file, or is that just, all right, I would need a motion?
So moved.
It's moved by Commissioner Barron,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion, Commissioners? All those who approve signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, budget amendment for Fund 293.
During the budget process, I'm always trying to utilize fund balance, not to utilize fund balance to balance out each fund. And Dave Xavier brought to my attention that this year's budget strategy didn't really work for the purpose of Soldiers and Sailors Relief Fund. And the reason for this is that fund balance, it historically has been used to supplement that budget. So when I was putting together the budget, I didn't add the fund balance usage. So right now, we're just requesting that we are allowed to put that back in there. So that did drop his budget from 4,000 to 2,000 for the Soldiers and Sailors Relief. And the reason why I removed it, I took past 3 years and it averaged only like $1,800. So I figured we didn't need that extra 2,000, but this year is a little different. They've already, expensed $1,850. And the reason why I did not bring this to Finance Committee is because this is an emergency type request. And we currently have veterans that are waiting for shut-off notices to be paid for. One particular case, it was, April 15th, they will be shut off. So if I would have put this through our Finance Committee, we would have never been able to help this veteran. So I'm just requesting that the board approves $2,000 to come out of their fund balance. They do have the fund balance for it. I did share that on Nextcloud. And they've done this in the past. Any
Commissioners?
questions?
So moved.
All right, moved by Commissioner View,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Barron. Additional discussion?
Is that his fund balance or is that the county's?
Well, I mean, it's all the counties, but
Well-
it's not part of the general fund. It's its own fund.
I mean, it's like a line item just for the veteran service?
It's its own fund. It's
Within his
separate,
budget.
100% separate.
How does he get more money in there then?
We can always approve to appropriate more. Right now, we only approve to appropriate $2,000 this year towards it, and then $2,000 coming out of his fund balance.
Okay,
Out of that fund balance.
thank you.
All right, Commissioners, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we have to go into a closed session to discuss opioid settlement. And so if you, I think, is this room open?
Don't we have to make a motion for that?
Yes, of course, but we do. I just need to know if we're going to stay here or go in this room. It's open. So I would need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Melner. Additional discussion?
Are we supposed to repeat the open meetings regulation on why we're going in there? I mean,
I would need something to read as far as.
No, that's what I'm saying, because I think we need to do that or not.
No, there's some very specific language that
Yes.
you're,
Do we have that language so Mr. Barron can read that?
No.
Or Mr. Moyle said it?
To discuss litigation.
we are going into we're going into closed session to discuss opioid litigation.
According to a public open meetings act.
In conjunction
number-
with MIOMA, the Michigan Open Meetings Act.
That's all we need?
Yeah,
That'll cover the
Okay.
bases.
I have it in my minutes, it's, subsection E, so.
All right?
All right.
I have the PA.
Well, I just didn't want something coming
No,
back.
I
that
think
we
we're all
didn't
right, as long as
mention
we
it.
acknowledge that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, will you excuse us, please? We'll be back in a moment.
No, I thought it was.
A roll call? All right, very good.
Okay, Melner,
Yes.
you,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Peterson.
Yes.
And Moyle.
Yes.
So wait, next, no, I won't be here, I think next Friday. Yeah. These have style. You know, mine are by far the shortest, but whatever. Huh? I'm like a little bit. Yeah, I'm summoned every ounce of education. That's a huge thing. Get out. Yeah. I've always, I've always been confident in speaking publicly. I played a lot of 17th draft. Yeah, okay. Friday. And I had it for a while, so I have nothing about it. I have a lot of experience just there's a moving acceptance day now. Yeah, it was actually pretty good. I've been living in for 4 years, so I think even if you as well, right? It's still like a fun movie. Because Rebecca here saw her, and she never played the game so I was
It's not my choice, I think
Those solo chairs are so nice. I would totally buy one from the county.
She still enjoys it.
Ask you.
If you don't know anything about it, it's just like a fun, common fantasy.
They had nice chairs for the audience.
And like nothing, the movie isn't made so that you have that play.
They were really nice. They were
Which I think is the ideal way to make movie assignments like that, where people don't think about all the fans in it. Apparently I haven't had a meeting job for a year and a half.
Oh, I said, according to Moyle, I haven't had a union job for like an hour and a half, or a year and a half now.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, if you're a youth and a lefty, you can't work a job apparently because you're too busy, you know, trying to survive.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is, I'm gonna continue with this line that you with the sheriff. So then I would only just suppose you this work.
Okay, we would need a motion to come back into regular session, please.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Barron, supported by Commissioner Melnar. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We did not make any decisions. We did not cast any votes. We discussed the opioid settlement and its implications for the county. Commission, what is your pleasure?
From what I can see, we need to adopt a motion to adopt a resolution for the opioid settlement.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner View to adopt a resolution for the opioid settlement,
Support.
supported by Commissioner Barron. Gentlemen, additional discussion. Very good. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, Commissioner View.
Yes, we need to participate in having a signed agreement to the settlement, opioid settlement. We need to have a signed agreement. I move that we do that.
So the motion is to have the county commission have a signator to participate in the opioid settlement. I have a motion.
I'll support that.
Supported by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you. And the third and final.
A motion to, for the Michigan State Michigan State subdivision agreement for the opioid settlement.
We have a third motion by Commissioner View for the Michigan State Agreement for the
Support.
opioid settlement with support by Commissioner Peterson. Additional discussion.
Yeah, I have one thing.
Yes, sir.
I just want to let the people know that this type of movement that we're doing is going to bring some money into the county of, how much was that about?
180 grand after 10 years.
180 grand, and when does that going to be starting? Do you know, Ashley, offhand? I just want to let people know what's going on.
It comes through, for the past like 10 to 13 years. So
Okay,
it's
I mean, it's over a
at
period of
time.
time, and it's towards, with partnership with the health department and helping out our problem with the opioid, and this is a settlement, so I think it's important for you to know what it's actually about.
Commissioner, since you didn't say it, I will say it, that Commissioner View was critical in getting us online with this. So it was your research, and you have the board's gratitude, sir.
Well, thank you. It's my obligation. I just felt it was something that needed to be done.
Well, you did it, and it's 180 grand better off. Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That would pass. All right, very good. It is time now for general public comment. You may address the board on any issue you choose. General public comment, please. Welcome and thank you, Mr. Loeb.
So is this working? Ooh, a little. I don't want to be like Michael Parente and always argue with the mic. So hi, Liam from Escanaba. Commissioner Moyle and his fascist gang have shown time and time again for his contempt, not just for existence of political opponents, but also for the youth of Delta County. Like a typical politician, David Moyle speaks out of both sides of his mouth. One moment supporting youth engagement and freedom of speech, and the next, attacking youth on social media, like I woke up to on April 5th. I woke up to David Moyle making a post saying, "If you can't stand for the pledge, I can't stand you." He called me out by name specifically in the comment section, replying to someone who's saying, "Oh, the youth hates this country," by saying, "My assumption is Liam told his contemporaries," end quote. On the contrary, I don't have soldiers to bark to, unlike you, Sergeant Major Moyle, with Corporal Barron and Private Peterson at attention. My friends and I sit and kneel as an act of patriotism to defy white nationalism. I was awarded the American Legion Medal for school awards last year for courage, patriotism, and leadership. So I'd like to think that if the American Legion thinks I'm a patriot, I think that's good enough for me, right? And Commissioner Moyle, you always use Nazi tropes like, cultural Marxism, which was, of course, Jewish Bolshevism back in the day. And then now you always love to talk about the lying press, which Hitler called the Lügenpresse. So that's really my difference between nationalism and patriotism. I love my country and I'll criticize it. And David Moyle likes to blame a straw man and say it's not us, it's them. Commissioner Barron, you quoted a hero of mine at the last meeting. It kind of surprised me, Martin Luther King Jr. And so I'd like to do the same. So this is from Martin Luther King, quote, "We who engage in nonviolent direct action are not the creators of tension. We just bring to surface the tension that is already alive," end quote. And so I'd like to end this by asking Moyle, Barron, and Peterson, again, take a hint from President Richard Nixon, who's from your political party, and step down and resign before you embarrass yourselves any further. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to discuss general public comment? You can bring up anything, talk to the board. Welcome, sir.
Josiah Lawrence, Escanaba. I'd like to clarify that I am agnostic. However, I was previously a Baptist for over 10 years, and I was even baptized. I do not believe the teachings of Jesus from Nazareth to be harmful and still consider him to be an influential figure in my personal life. I will not be saying the verses I mentioned as to save time. When someone decides to lead a prayer before an organized event, I often wonder if the leader of the prayer asks themselves a question every follower of Jesus is asked to ponder. What would Jesus do? John 13:34 asked followers to show love to others, and Luke 6:27-28 makes the point clear that your enemies are also lovers. I know Jesus would love others and would stand for people who don't and won't stand for what he believes in. Throughout the Bible, Jesus constantly asks everyone who may be teetering on the line of outsider to come to him. Isaiah 54:4 elaborates on that point, even assures the individual that they will not be shamed nor humiliated. It doesn't matter if they don't align with his message. They are always welcomed. I know Jesus wouldn't invite people to him just to try and publicly shame them to the point where they will not return. In Matthew 18:6, it is made extensively clear that people who hold high power over others are told not to misguide people from the truth. As Jesus said, it would be better if you drowned than do so. I know Jesus wouldn't manipulate the people he leads. If you are an esteemed individual who decides to lead a prayer, I expect that you are a follower of Jesus. If you are a follower of Jesus, I expect you to live like Jesus, like Philippians 2 tells you to do so. If Jesus were here today, I know Jesus wouldn't cyberbully minors and people wanting to engage with his work. I believe a certain county commissioner could learn a thing or two from Jesus.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else? General public comment. General public comment, please. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
Good evening, folks. My name is Matthew Keast. In our country, we are dealing with an epidemic of gun violence. A few months ago, we had that tragic shooting in Lansing at MSU, which resulted in 3 college students killed and 5 others injured. In response to the shooting, Lansing approved a number of bills that would expand background checks and would implement red flag laws. However, Commissioner Moyle famously proposed the idea of becoming a Second Amendment sanctuary county, which would effectively neutralize the statewide gun legislation. Second Amendment sanctuaries prevent the confiscation or surrender of firearms or firearm accessories from the locals. Second Amendment sanctuaries are also closely affiliated with anti-government extremism, with the aim to push back against any gun legislation perceived as unconstitutional. Commissioner Moyle shares the same attitude with these extremists. Back during the pandemic, he went on a bizarre tangent about gathering a militia presence. I quote, "I would strongly consider forming an active response militia of very well-educated armed people to stand at my property line." Now, Commissioner Moyle immediately went back on his word. He claimed that organizing a militia was an emotion-filled desire to see change. It's rather concerning that our elected officials' first instinct is to organize a militia group to combat an arbitrary, hypothetical opposition. Furthermore, when Commissioner Moyle was first proposing the idea of a sanctuary county, he authorized the sheriff to exercise sound discretion to not enforce unconstitutional firearms laws against any citizen. This decision once again came down to a 3-2 vote, Commissioner Moyle being one of those votes. You cannot do this. You cannot appoint sheriffs or other elected officials to prevent the enforcement of state and federal laws, even ones they personally deem unconstitutional, because state and federal law overrides that of county law. Now, more recently, Commissioner Moyle reiterated his stance on the sanctuary county. At LSSU, a student possessed an AR-15 on campus. The college uniquely allows for the storage of firearms. However, what generated concern was the student's social media post about the weapon. It stated, "Taking this bad boy up, this ought to make the snowflakes melt." Various students felt threatened about the post and alerted proper authorities. I will disclose this case no further. You can do that on your own time. Given the context of our modern day, this is rightfully worrying. But what is even more worrying was Commissioner Moyle's outlook. Once more, Commissioner Moyle vaguely frames this case as being unconstitutional and attempts to blame the left on trying to violate the Second Amendment. Since his argument is reactionary, I see no point in trying to argue this at length, so instead I shall apply Hitchens' razor. What can be asserted without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. Setting the case aside, Commissioner Moyle provides an interesting insight into his viewpoint on gun violence, or more accurately, potential gun violence. In our day and age, with mass shootings being so common and the signal so clear, it is entirely reasonable to believe that this student would inflict violence. But Commissioner Moyle seems more concerned about the sanctity of the Second Amendment than the safety of school students. David Moyle and those in favor of the Second Amendment sanctuary county so that they are not only indifferent to mass shootings, but they are equally willing to enable them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Okay. Please, general public comment.
All right. Hello, my name is Brady Irving. I've lived in Escanaba almost all of my life, except for a couple years when I lived down in Colorado and Texas when my dad was still an active member of the U.S. Army. I'd like to leave off the concerns of my colleagues here by talking a little bit more about David Moyle himself. David Moyle, our dear commissioner who is glued to his phone during meetings, our commissioner who gets his ex-wife to sycophantically defend him on social media, our commissioner who goes on screeds on social media, calling anyone who disagrees with him a rhino, socialist, moron, or whatever other buzzword came to him in a dream this week. Dave Moyle, our commissioner who, along with his two cronies, fired the county administrator and then lowered the requirements for the position. Our commissioner who throws tantrums when people clap and then goes on to cry that he was threatened. Moyle is a deeply unserious and unprofessional person. His behavior leads me to believe that something makes him incapable of professionalism. This in of itself wouldn't be a problem if he wasn't an elected official. This isn't even to mention his two yes men, Bob Peterson and Robert Barron. Peterson, who is an open member of a white nationalist organization called the Three Percenters, and Barron, who still clings to his Red Scare paranoia. These three men have taken strides to become local dictators, to mold Delta County into their personal little Fourth Reich. They're woefully unqualified to serve any community, let alone Delta County. And the key term here is serve. They serve us, they answer to us, and this is a fact they have seemingly forgotten. They're glorified toddlers, high on their own supply and incapable of realizing it. Like infants clinging to their mothers, they cling to a vision of the world that never actually existed, because they're afraid. The world is moving past them and they simply can't handle it. These men are weak, afraid, and ignorant, and they want to make the people of Delta County weak, afraid, and ignorant, because it's the weak, the afraid, and the ignorant who fall for their lies.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. General public comment, please. General public comment, please. Good evening and thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for serving on this board. I'm sorry that you have to listen to these personal attacks by people who are calling other people infants and appear to be closer to that stage themselves. I would say that we live in a constitutional republic, and our Constitution affords us certain rights. And if you haven't read those, there's a Bill of Rights. It might be interesting for you to see exactly how our country is constructed and what our forefathers were thinking of when they set it forth for us. The Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, which was ratified in 1791 as part of the Bill of Rights, states that we, quote, have a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I see tonight a good reason why we have that amendment, because a lot of these views, although you're claiming other people are saying are Marxist, look to your own views. And if you choose those views, that's fine. Maybe you should go somewhere else. Thank you.
Public comment, please. General public comment. General public comment, please. General public comment. Mr. Kaplan, welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
Joe Kaplan, Ford River Township. I received the agenda packet beforehand so I can review the same information that you review. But I noticed there tends to be a trend that Rory passes things out to you directly right before he addresses the public body. So, in order for me to get that information, I then have to do a FOIA request to Ashley and to Tracy, which means they have to write it up on pieces of paper, which means they have to do work that would be a lot easier just to do beforehand. So for the rest of the 2 minutes and 19 seconds, I would just like to see what was distributed to the public body so that I don't have to do a FOIA request for this information. And I would just respectfully ask that in the future, that the information that Rory shares with you, which is often very good information, is just provided in the agenda packet. Thank you.
You can have that if you like.
Oh, I can? Great, thank you.
Oh, sorry, well, he's gonna get somebody's copies.
Do you appreciate the savings?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, FOIA can be burdensome, and I just prefer to inspect, and thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir.
Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Okay, anybody else, general public comment? General public comment? Mr. Mattson, welcome.
Well, Mr. Kaplan brings up a good idea. What I usually do, if you have to make a decision on something, then basically I always send it ahead of time. That's what I've done for years. But when it's information presenting directly to the commissioners, I have discussed this with commissioners in the past, and I like them to see it first, because that's who the Conservation District is making that presentation to. Tonight, I did bring other copies, but I've already given one to the paper and one to somebody else. But also, if anybody's going to FOIA the county, please don't, because I'm going through these and I know how hard they are when you're very, very busy. Just ask me. So I'm guessing Mr. Kaplan will be at our meeting tomorrow. So if you didn't get the packet, I could easily have it there because it's very quick to do that. So I just wanted to maybe apologize. But the intention was not secretive. It is nice sometimes when the district is coming before the board to let you guys see it first, and then everybody and their brother could do it. I was going to make copies for everybody here, and tonight I could have actually did it. But you never know. The meetings have been full, and a lot of those pages are color. And if anybody has printers and they buy ink, it's outrageous. So that's basically why I didn't do it. But anything that I give, if anybody from the public, just please ask me. Please don't FOIA the county. I'll be happy to give it. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? General public comment, please. General public comment, going once. Mr. Hyken, welcome.
Mr. View. There are very few, I can start over when I have a quiet.
I'll need it quiet in the audience, please. Thank you.
Mr. View, there are very few things in the world that are more scummy than stolen valor. In my opinion, one of the things that is dramatically more scummy than stolen valor is stolen credit when somebody tries to assist the veterans in our community. Mr. View, you have been quoted in the newspaper multiple times claiming credit for the assistance we're giving the Veteran Services Office. Mr. View, you weren't there. I was. I've sat in these meetings, just as you have. You did not bring that issue up, and yet you claimed credit for it and are more than happy to stand in front of the reporter and let her believe that it is you and your actions that are taking care of our veterans. Mr. View, you're measured on your character. Theft does not help your character.
Thank you, Mr. Hyken. Anybody else? General public comment, please. General public comment, please. Going once? Going twice? Thank you very much. Commissioners' concerns. Mr. Peterson.
I think I'll pass.
Mr. View. As time as you need, sir.
First off, I shut it off because I breathe hard sometimes. There's a personnel committee tomorrow, just in case people don't realize it. At 10:45, administration's conference room. There's also a building and grounds committee tomorrow. It's open to the public. This is where we make some of the minor details that we bring to the commission. That's at 1 o'clock in the administrative conference room. As far as the handouts, I just want to put it on record. I think that if there is handouts at a meeting and it's just for information, maybe after the meeting, they can be posted. Would that be legal to do that so that people that didn't have it prior to the meeting and it's just for us first, that it could be put online? Is that, I don't know if you can talk about it or not. Some of the meetings I went to on FOIA, a lot of the townships downstate are actually hiring a part-time FOIA person. I just thought I'd throw that out there too, because I think it's more important for our administrators, department heads, IT guys, to probably concentrate on doing the best for the county that they're paid for. And maybe we can get a retiree or some college student or something to come in and, you know, they're all checked out and be able to do that. Forest management, I've had a few comments on if we're gonna be doing anything about that, so I thought I would just make a public comment on that, so maybe something go on the agenda for that, because they're wondering if we get a new park agreement, what's happening with the forest management. I had no answer for them. I already thought we did a Second Amendment sanctuary county last year. I don't know if that comes up every year or if it's, once you do it, I don't even know what it means outside of that, you know, we believe in the Second Amendment. The application for the posting of the administrator, I was confused why controller was on there. Maybe I misunderstood something. I also kind of noticed there was a time limit on it, 2 weeks. I didn't know why that was there, because when I looked at some of the ads, you were paying for a whole month. And I also, and it's probably my fault, we didn't put a compensation range in there, some small range that, I think that was important, because all the ones I looked at, had all of them items in there, and we didn't have a summary about as much about Delta County as some of the other. I'm not criticizing it, I'm just saying that, them three things were a couple of things that I noticed compared to looking at other stuff. So maybe our personnel committee got to do a little better job next time. And last, I believe in free to be free, whether you're on one end of the spectrum or on the other. I was happy to see young gentlemen here tonight, young ladies, all the way to the seniors like me, real senior. And I don't judge anyone, but I do listen to all aspects of age to see where they're coming from and where I stand. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Bellman?
I'll pass.
Mr. Barron?
Yes, I'm just going to use, I copied this quote down the other day, and I thought it might come in handy. But it's from Socrates. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the losers.
Thank you, sir. Anything else? That's it. Nancy?
No, thank you.
Okay, I've got quite a bit. Hopefully I can get through to you. I don't have to like what somebody's saying to respect the fact that they're saying it, so believe it or not, I encourage young people to come here and spill your guts, tell me what you think. For what it's worth, I think you're very articulate, the people that spoke. I don't know that you're on the mark from what way I see things, but the beauty of a democratic republic is we can agree to disagree. In essence of me being a Nazi, my best friend is a Jew, so I highly doubt that holds any water. Again, I can talk religion or politics without getting stinky with people. I will come after you if I think you're wrong. The Pledge of Allegiance was developed by a socialist, and it was probably set up to try to sell flags during that time. After World War I and World War II and Korea and Vietnam, where we forced young men to storm the beaches of Normandy and to die in Cantipi and Basra and you name, or not, that wasn't a draft, but kind of a backdoor draft. I think, in my personal opinion, the pledge stands for our veterans, and there are many ways to show respect to the veterans. I understand that. I reiterate what I'm saying. If you can't stand the pledge, I can't stand you. Well, you can't stand me. I'll still sit down and have coffee with you if you promise not to spit it at me. In terms of the Second Amendment sanctuary county, on February the 4th of 2020, we became a Second Amendment sanctuary county. It was something that I drove through. And I'll fight to do it again, a reaffirmation of that whole concept, because our Second Amendment rights are under attack every day. That doesn't make me a gun-toting redneck who wants to shoot someone. It makes me concerned about being able to protect my family, who has received death threats, and I'm very serious about protecting them. However, I can still sit with somebody in a room and discuss political discourse without casting any kind of harm towards their family. You want to step into the adult arena, take the adult heat. I asked to be here, I get heat all the time. And I will ask the public again to return me to my seat, much to the consternation of many who think I'm the worst thing since since cancer, I guess. Our Second Amendment sanctuary county does not erase state law. Never has. It's symbolic, like the pledge. I have no authority as a commissioner to tell the sheriff how to do his job. I have no authority to tell the prosecutor how to do her job. I can not fund activities that are non-constitutional. That will be my intent. And some of these red flag laws are not constitutional. And I welcome your input on the Second Amendment. If you disagree with this, I'm not going to sit and cuss at you and exchange insults, but if you want to sit down and talk, I'll talk with you. That being said, this county board is moving forward. It might not be pretty sometimes, but it is moving forward. Your desire to see me fail, it's not going to happen, because then the county would fail. The citizens are aware of what's going on, and you can continue with your First Amendment rights as much as you'd like. With that, I wish you all a safe evening and the best of luck tonight. We have no 30-day appointments. We do have a list of meetings coming up. There's a Finance Committee meeting on 4/13/23 at 1 p.m. in room 222 of the courthouse. There's regular Board of Commission meetings on 4/18/23 at 5:15 p.m. right here in the Service Center. A regular Board of Commission meetings on 5/2/23 at 5 o'clock. That's the Commissioners' Informational Workshop here at the Service Center. And the regular Board of Commissioners meeting at 5/16 at 5:15. There are no 30-day notice of appointments. With that, a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We have a motion by Commissioner Barron, support by Commissioner View. Have a good evening. You really want me to be on my page? I will if you want to be on there. Well, if you want, I will.
Do you need these back?
Good thing today. Yeah, apparently we gotta leave the country.
Delta County actually become a sanctuary.
It's the American way to run like a little nation instead of proof things.
I know, right?
You're right.
It's just that they even put it in big bold and
I've had that for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, son of Abraham, how are you tonight?